Yo, yo, yo. It's your boy, Mike Ganji Bex. Hello, everyone. Like, safe here for your comments and your feedback. I love them as always. But like right now, like what I want to talk about is I want to talk about basically the graphics. I want to talk like a little bit. I spoke into it a bit like earlier, but I want to talk into it again because there's a lot of people out there that are like they're kind of underestimating the graphics, and they kind of think here that like FIFA's graphics are like way better. Here is why I want to say they're not way better. They're good, like I look at it, but I want to talk about PES's graphics. The graphics in PES, yeah, they're like detailed. You can see, yeah, that basically Konami, like, they've detailed every little thing about the player. Sometimes when you look at the players in FIFA, you can see that they look like their real life counterparts, but there's just it just looks kind of bland, if you know what I mean. Like it's not detailed enough. In Pro Evolution Soccer, you see detail in players, like their hair strands, their fade. And another thing as well, I don't think that like FIFA like they do black players very well. If you know what I mean, like if you look at players like you look at Abidal, you look at players like Diaby and stuff like that, they look kind of weird and look all charcoaly. Like PES, like they get like the black players on point, if you know what I mean. Like if you look at the Ghanaian squad, look at the Ghana squad in PES game, they're usually like they're very like they're very good and very identical to their real life counterparts. And another thing I wanted to talk about, like Pro Evolution Soccer, which like no one's really touched on, and I was going into it before, but I never really got into it that much. It was what I like to call heartbreak football. Basically, I like it when you're playing Pro Evolution Soccer. Yeah, I like it like when you're playing like as a small team. Like right now, all right, I'm still playing Pro 2010. The reason why I'm still playing Pro 2010 is because like my internet's busted, and I'm not gonna go to someone else's house and go and play like the beta. Try. I'd rather wait until the proper game is out. You know what I mean? When the proper game is out, then I can proper give like like a proper review about it, and I can talk about it and go into emphasis and detail about it. But I want to talk about heartbreak football. You see, when I'm playing with West Ham, yeah, I'm West Ham and I got them in the Champions. Not got them in the Champions League, but I'm doing the Champions League mode with West Ham. I like the fact, yeah, that when you're playing with a certain team, you have to want it more than your opponent. If you're playing against like a top team like Real Madrid, then you have to get certain individuals into spaces to create opportunities, and you have to kind of play smart, if you know what I mean. Like if I'm West Ham and I'm playing with like I get Benny McCarthy on the ball, the flicks that he can do, kind of like little orchestrations, kind of like players don't need to players don't need to be like scoring goals all the time to cause nuisances. Yeah, ideally they score goals because that's what they do. But I mean like there's things like flicks, little holding up the balls that you could do in pairs. Like you can like kind of run around players and kind of like dribble around them and stuff like that. Even though the 360 degree wasn't implemented the way how a lot of people wanted it, I still think it was implemented well for what PES 2009 was, if you know what I'm saying. There was no 360 degree dribbling. It was just zigzag, 16 dimensional. You know what I mean, going here and there. And another thing as well is I want to talk about like the D-pad and I want to talk about the analog. Me, I've used analog and I've always been using analog. The reason why I use analog is because I think that D-pad is for it restricts you and it's for like minimize games like Super Mario. Up, down, left, right. You know what I mean? When you're playing a football game where there's a structure to it like a pitch, you want to be able to get into spaces and be able to swerve a bit, and that's where the 360 degree dribbling comes into play in a sports title. Because if you're playing like if you're playing Pro Evo and you want to kind of get between players, you want to be able to feel like you have all the freedom, and that's what PES 2011 does. I played a bit more of it like at my mate's house, and I kind of like I came to realize that the game, this is gonna be like the best PES ever. Yeah, like I didn't think I'd say that. Yeah, right. Like 2 weeks ago, I thought like it was gonna be like a good game to get like a 9 out of 10. But when I can look in the camera and honestly say, yeah, that when I played it, I honestly feel that this game is probably gonna be the best PES game ever, if the best PES game to date ever to date. Because basically the things that make that game so good, like when I played the little beta, yeah, is the fact that when you hold up the ball, yeah, you can actually orchestrate the game. I don't need to be on an attacking. If a player is running on the wing, I could like tap into my, use the cursor, get a player like Dion, follow the player, run around him, and get the ball from like from my defensive half. And I don't think we've seen that before in Pro Evo games. I don't think we've seen the animations look so fluid, so effortless. It's not like it's a little strain or it's buggy or it looks like, um, like the previous Pro Evos where it was very restricted in the way you can kind of turn and stuff like that. It feels very smooth, very free flowing, you know, and it feels very nice. When you do a ball from one place to another, it feels very smooth, you know. One thing that I've noticed as well that I think is going to be another big thing is the shooting. The shooting in PES 2010 was good, but I think the shooting in PES 2011 is epic. The reason why the shooting is epic is because when you're on the ball, yeah, with certain players, not even just certain players, because you have to start off like in the Master League Beta as like Miranda and stuff like that. When you get them into a certain position, and then you're able to go past like a certain player, and you just get the ball and you kind of shoot it and hold that button, and you shoot it and it goes in the net. It's not just like it's going straight in like an arrow. It kind of goes in with a swerve. The ball trajectory is nice in PES 2011. It goes with a nice swerve, and it's kind of the broadcast kind of feel that it gives to it. Like when you're watching the Champions League, you see the broadcast and you kind of see them go into it a bit when it's a one-on-one situation. All of that stuff is brought to the forefront in PES 2011. That's why I think that this game is going to be probably the biggest game, because at the end of the day, they've licensed a lot of tournaments. You know, I want to go into more about the gameplay. I want to try and emphasize enough. Basically, when you have the ball and when you do like a lot of people say like they do like a lot of skills randomly and stuff like that, but I disagree, because when you have the ball and you're playing against someone, yeah, and then they like doing all that funny trickery, yeah, you in PES, yeah, you have to use your football brain about you. So if he's doing all his flicks and whatever, it's not really doing anything. So I can get the ball and make it more effective. In Pro Evolution Soccer 2011, you can make effective football. You can make football look good. You can pass the ball around and orchestrate space, make space for players. Create a wide gap. Get players on the ball and really kind of play around, to the gamer's leisure. I can sit down and pass the ball around when I'm playing against a guy. I just kind of pass the ball, smooth football. I get a 1-0 and I get a 2-0, and I'm just playing it smoothly, just playing the game nice and safe. And if I see a little opening, then I can kind of get urgency. You see, the freedom tagline that is for PES 2011 is implemented very cleverly, because it gives you the freedom. You can play however you want to play. If you want to do all these flick and tricks and whatever, then you can do that game. If you want to be more subtle and be proper play a football match and get the ball from one place to another, get players onto space, do skills, you can do that as well. You can mix different parts of the game into the football match, like real life, Like sometimes if you watch a Real Madrid match, it's not all the time that Real Madrid get on the ball and they're just doing skills all the time. But there's sometimes when they're like 2-0 or 3-0 up, they can turn on the circus tricks, if you know what I mean, and they can play their game. That's how you're playing. You're playing like that. You know what I mean? You can pass the ball smoothly. The passing is excellent. You can pass the ball and get the ball in a certain frame, you know, and I honestly speaking, I don't. The bar is there, but I don't need the bar, because it's a gauge that you can kind of sense yourself. PES 2011 reacts a lot of response. So did PES 2010. It's just like it wasn't implemented well in that game, or should I say, it wasn't implemented to the best of their ability. In PES 2011, the response issue is for in terms of the dribbling and the stiffness, all of that is completely gone. It's gone back to the days where in PES 2005, for example, when you can move around and there was none of that, funny turns and that, none of that. That's all gone. Another thing which is good is the response. Like I said, you have to be very responsive. Like when you get a ball, you have to know just to do a little delicate touch, so a player can do a back heel flick, or how to do so. You have to do something very delicately, and play the game of football at a delicate pace, but at the same time you can play at your pace, and that's what makes the freedom of PES 2010 so good. Because at the end of the day, you can play at your pace. You can play. It's not the thing about the FIFA. When I look at the game, it looks like kind of you have to play at a certain pace all the time. And I don't like the WWE animations of the tussling in FIFA. I think that PES's one is more realistic, because if you push them too much and stuff like that, then it's like a foul and stuff like that. But it's not too, everything's always happening. There's always a little tussling here and there. You feel like something is going on everywhere on the pitch in PES. And that's why I think this is going to be the PES game, and that's why I'm encouraging a lot of people to check it out and try and get the game or pre-order it or something, because this game's going to be big. You know, the Champions League looks awesome. The Super Cup looks awesome. I'm looking forward to playing the Copa Libertadores. Playing with South American teams, so that you can get. It'll be kind of new to PES, because as a PES fan, you're looking at it like, raw. All right, then you got like Boca Juniors and you got International and River Plate in PES 10, but they didn't really feel like they were part of the franchise. They felt like they were just, okay, let's get 3 teams and put them in. But now they've actually incorporated the whole Copa Libertadores, the South American, the big teams, the small teams, and they kind of acknowledge now that the more teams we can put into a game is the more that our product can sell, and the more people will relate to our product from around the world. So really, you guys, I'm looking forward to PES 2011, just like a lot of you guys out there. So please, keep the messages coming, and remember, don't smoke too much crow. I'm joking, man, but yeah, man, keep it going. Yeah, all right, safe. Yeah, cool. See you, Ali. I see you guys out there. Yeah, safe. Yeah, all right, cool.